Hey guys, long time no see. I am excited to be on here live on Facebook in our Your Spiritual Awakening community and also on YouTube. No, hold on a second. Technical difficulties. I wanted to talk to you guys about inanimate objects that may speak to you, and I would love to hear you guys' stories. I want to share a couple tips about inanimate objects speaking to you, and then share 2 stories from some of my clients that took the Awaken program and what they were experiencing through their awakening process. I love to share spiritual awakening stories because that helps a lot of you guys out there not feel like you're batshit crazy, not feel like you're losing your mind. If you guys are watching live, say hi, I'm watching live. If you're watching the replay, let me know what you think about this information. Share any experiences that maybe you had. When I say inanimate objects, I'm talking about figurines, I'm talking about stuffed animals, I'm talking about items in your home, right? I'm talking about, like figurines. And I also want to talk a little bit about shapeshifters today too, in one of the experiences that one of my clients had. So those of you guys that don't know me, right? My name's Brandaline Johnson. I used to also be known as Spiritual Awakening Babe, but we went back to brandaline.com as my website. And I am a spiritual coach, a spiritual science coach, and I've been teaching people psychic and mediumship development for probably 9 years-ish, because that is the gateway to having a better human experience. That's the gateway to communicating with the invisible realm, right? And shifting this planet. So I absolutely love to work with and for spirit. But I want to talk to you guys, like, why would an inanimate object speak to you? And when I say speak to you, either you're hearing the voice, right, externally or internally speaking to you, or you're feeling a feeling that that thing's talking to me and it equals this information. So you can use any one of your clairs, right? Seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing when it comes to these inanimate objects. But here's the deal when it comes to spirit. When I say spirit, I mean spirit guides, angels, past loved ones, infinite intelligence, right? Aliens, whatever you want to say. I kind of put them all in this clump because it's cosmic soup, right? They will do whatever it is that they need to do specifically for you to get your attention, right? So some people maybe see feathers, or some people maybe see numbers, right? Or some people hear a song. It's whatever they need to do to get your attention so that they can then give you information. And sometimes that means that they're going to work through an inanimate object, like a stuffed animal or a figurine or objects in your home, right? Or shape-shifting. Sometimes that's what they end up doing. Feathers, numbers, inanimate objects. So here's a couple things too. Let's talk about like a figurine. So I don't have any up here, but I have like a little figurine of Archangel Michael. I have like I used to have like a little dragon, right? Because these were like my totem animals. These were, or not, Michael's not my totem animal, but these were figurines that I imprinted onto, right? So that figurine, that's Michael. Maybe he starts communicating with me as Archangel Michael. Maybe because I gave the intention that this little Archangel Michael figurine is now here to protect and support me. Maybe all of a sudden Archangel Michael starts coming through that figurine, especially if you're going to put it on your altar, right? Or you're going to honor this figurine, right? You're going to honor that dragon, right? So maybe your figurines start kind of communicating with you because you gave them that identity. You gave them that intention. You gave that figurine. Like even if you could look at a picture of like your mom, if your mom's passed away, you gave that picture approval to communicate with you as that energy, right? If that makes sense to you. So sometimes it's you imprinted it and then you're starting to receive it because you're like, oh, this is my little dragon and he protects me and his personality is like this. And then all of a sudden that energy, that identity, that entity comes through that figurine, right? But here's an interesting story. I know you guys are going to love this too. Also stuffed animals. Like how many of you guys have kids that talk to their stuffed animals, name their stuffed animals. How many of you guys talked to your stuffed animals, gave your stuffed animal a name, an identity, and then maybe started having a relationship with that? So again, you could either imprint it, or like I said, spirit will use whatever they need to do for you specifically. So a lot of times kids will be talking to their stuffed animals because it's more imagination, right? Image, spirit, right? It's more of their imagination, and they are allowing themselves to receive information through their stuffed animal because it's innocent and it's sweet, versus doing some tapping in down in the basement, right? So, and then their guides might likely come into the stuffed animal and give them guidance. Like this was my daughter. She always was naming all her little dolls, all of her little animals. And she said that they told her what their name was, and she came up with these wild names. But so one of the stories I wanted to share with you about one of my students that flowed through the Awaken program, right? My signature program, Awaken. She came to me. Most of the time, people come to me from YouTube, or they just come find us in your Spiritual Awakening community on Facebook, and they're sharing these experiences because they think they're crazy. They don't understand what's going on, right? And one of the girls came to me and she was like, I've never told anybody this. I love it when somebody says that, because I'm like, get ready. Like, I can't wait to hear the crazy stuff that's going to come out of your mouth, and to be able to support you so that you know you're not crazy, and to be able to guide you through this experience so you can wrap your head around it and get on with your life, right? So one of the things she said is like, I've never told anybody this because I feel like I'm crazy, but I was in the store, like a craft store, and I heard this little voice say, hi, how are you? And she's looking around and nobody's there, right? She heard it auditorily outside of her head, right? Not just in her head, outside. There's nobody there. This voice is really little, and she hears it again. And she looks down, and son of a gun, there's this little gnome figurine, right? So she's like, I know, I need to buy this figurine and take him home. So she did. She put him on a little altar, and then a little while later, she went to another store and found another little gnome, and he's like wanted to come home too. So she has these two little gnomes, and it sounds crazy, but she puts them on her altar, and she starts having a relationship with them, you know, talking to them, asking them for guidance. She was really struggling with abundance at the time, being very broke, depressed, all the things. And so she would sit and meditate next to the altar with these little gnome people, right? And then one night she had a dream, but she woke up because there was hands around her neck. Sounds scary, right? So she woke up because there's hands around her neck, and in her dream she kind of becomes conscious, and she feels like it's those little gnomes holding her neck. And so she freaks out and she wakes up and she goes, and both the gnomes, they're still on the altar. No, they weren't in bed with her. But in the dream, they gave her a specific necklace and told her, all your money problems will go away when you wear this necklace. Well, that was just in her dream, the necklace. But she ended up, and I don't have her here to validate, but from the story that I got, she ended up finding a necklace that was exactly like that or similar to that. And so many things changed for her after that. So interestingly enough, so was it a spirit guide? Was it a gnome? I probably believe it was a gnome because it went into that figure of a gnome, and I love fairies and they do great things for you. Or was it a guide or an angel, right? But Spirit's going to use whatever you're going to be able to wrap your head around, right? So sure, she thought she was a little bit crazy, but there had to be part of her to be open to this experience, to buy the gnome, right? And bring him home and put him on the altar. So I really loved that story because she ended up working with these gnomes, right, as guides and all these things. And then on the flip side, right, so that's very inspiring, very uplifting. Spirit was using whatever they needed to do to get through to her. I also had a client that had a lower vibrational experience, right, and we call this kind of like a shapeshifter. So it wasn't necessarily an inanimate object, but it wasn't an actual person, right? It was, she told me that it looked like a little smushy Fozzie the bear. If you guys remember that. And he was really fuzzy, and he could shrink and he could get bigger, and she would wake up and she would see him sitting on her dresser. But he was a real pesterly little guy, and he was always talking shit to her and making her feel kind of down. A lot of these things happen when, you know, you're having your spiritual awakening. She's thinking she's crazy. So really, when I worked with her, we had to manage this little shapeshifter, get him out. She had like all kinds of wild stuff going on in her house. But it took the shape of something that she was okay with looking at, right? Because maybe if it was this big, scary thing, she wouldn't have communicated, or she wouldn't have learned about her power, right? She would have been more in fear. This one was more like trickstery. So she had to learn that she's not crazy, she's not making this up, and that she was having this in her human experience, and that she was able to manage her energy and to manage her home and to manage, right, these entities that are, and let them know that they're not allowed, and create beautiful boundaries. And also learn about her beautiful power, because a lot of times when there's a more derogatory thing happening, or what you would consider a negative, is part of your self-growth. I know it sounds horrible for those of you guys that are maybe having a negative experience, but it's happening for you, not to you. And it's so important for you to go through the spiritual awakening process, to step into your power, honestly, to step into your power and become who you are really meant to be, not what the world told you, right? And that means that you're probably going to feel crazy. That means that you're going to feel different, right? Because you're awakening to the fact that you're not what everybody else told you you are, and it goes so much deeper than that. So I would love for you guys, leave a comment, share this with somebody that maybe thinks they're freaking nuts, and has inanimate objects talking to them. One of the girls in our Your Spiritual Awakening community also was talking about, and I did want to share this, how the objects in her home will let her know if they are not happy by the placement. So when it comes to your abilities, when it comes to speaking with spirit, you're going to excel at whatever it is that you already are kind of interested in, right? So this woman, and it would be interesting if she would share, if she watches this video, is she interested in making sure her home is feng shui? Is she interested in having a peaceful, place? Is she really interested in her home as a sentient being? And so if so, then that's why she's picking up on objects in her home and they're not happy there. Some of you guys won't feel that, won't receive that, because maybe that's not what you're interested in already. And some of these people, maybe the plants would talk to them because they're really into plants. You see what I'm saying? So you'll always develop as you already kind of are steering, but once you do develop, it just makes you that much more of a supernatural being, if you ask me, and able to create the best friggin' human experience, right? That Source Creator wants you to. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, have an awesome day. If you want to go to my website, take a quiz, or find out more about what I have to offer, just go to brandaline.com. See if I can say goodbye.